How we doing, everybody? This is Case from Q101. This is A Case For, a show in which I have coerced management and letting me talk to my favorite bands. We are on location at Riot Fest, and it is a pleasure and a privilege to bring to the couch Pat Flynn from Fiddlehead. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
This is a big one. You know, this show was conceptualized a year ago at Riot Fest, and when I go through the pantheon of people I would like to have on this show, Ian Shelton, got him. Sammy from Drain, got him. Graham from High Vis, got him. Pat Flynn.
All right.
On the list.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to appreciate it.
Good. No, it's very, very, very happy you're here. Riot Fest, right now we're sitting in the rain. I do apologize for the conditions that Chicago has brought on, but a man like yourself who's been just tearing up hardcore for 20, 25 years now, when you get invited to do a giant, big festival like this, what goes through your head?
I hope it doesn't rain.
I'm sorry, I have terrible news for you. It's going to rain all day.
Appears to be so. No, that's fine. The big stage is a little, it's not daunting in any way. It's just, it's always more of a challenge to try and get the, to really get that intimacy that the bands I play in really, or that's why we're doing it. And so it's always a little bit, you know, it's just off the beaten path. And it's also fun, and like, you're not playing to like your audience necessarily. And that's a cool and fun experience. There's a lot of people who haven't seen you before, so you can kind of feel new again, and maybe the slate is clean in the eyes of some, and you get to, you know, it's good. It's not like it's not preferred or anything like that. It's just not the typical experience.
Very much so. Last time you were in Chicago, you guys played the Metro. You headlined the Metro after doing a few shows with Citizen earlier in the year. And I walk in. I live right by the Metro. I walk in. I'm excited. My favorite band's playing, headlining tonight. And then I get to the Metro, and I see a barricade.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking, what the hell? Well, it's Fiddlehead not cool anymore. Please tell your story about the barricade there.
Well, I think it was Drain's fault.
This is what I've been saying. Okay, so
not their fault, but, you know.
So, brief history about barricades at the Metro. It used to be cool. You used to be able to say, like, we want a barricade or not. And then Drain, the first big tour they did with them and Drug Church and Gel, and then we had Incendiary on our day because it was the same weekend as Tied Down, as they're all going through there.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Yep.
Now, I don't remember anybody getting hurt because Kinlan makes it very clear, like, if you're going to dive, people are going to catch you.
Yeah.
But ever since then, barricades for every show. Justice from Angel Dust broke his foot trying to climb over the barricade when they played
Metro?
there. Yeah, Metro.
Oh, that's how we did that? Okay.
And then, yes, that's how we did that. And I watched people carry him down
Maybe
the
it's
stairs.
Justice's fault. Let's just blame him.
That's what I'm going to do. But that Drain show last summer was the last one I remember with no barricades. And then, yeah, you guys had a barricade. But I bring this up because on stage, you said at the time, and maybe you didn't mean it, but I remember this, I took great honor in it, that it was the best show Fiddlehead had played with a barricade.
That's right. Yeah. Well, it's not that far of a gap.
It's not.
And you can actually, as a singer, stand on the stage with one foot on the barricade, and that's cool. But I remember we have a kind of variety of songs. We tend to just sort of write whatever the fuck we want to write. If you want to, you can call us whatever genre of music you want to call us, and we're just 5 friends like writing together. But over the course of like 3 LPs and a couple 7-inches there, the sound slightly evolved. So on the last record, we were just feeling something a little bit more aggressive than before. But on the first record, I think we were, you know, trying out stuff that was a little bit more, I don't know, kind of like something you can kind of vibe to. It's all a mix match, but like we have some songs that don't necessarily like call for like the big stage dive, typical hardcore decorum. And I remember we played a song we hadn't played in a long time called USMA, and it's really just kind of like a sing-along song. And it actually that set gave a rebirth to that song.
It popped off. I specifically remember it.
And I was like, oh, this is fantastic. That was the intended purpose of this song. We hadn't played it in forever because it was just on the first LP, and like we're like, oh wow, people really connect with this song. And it, quite honestly, for me, it's made me, we're in the early stages of writing a new record, and it's, at least for now, it's maybe gonna like want to like kind of explore that territory a little bit further. I don't know, it could change, but yeah, that was great, and I was able, and I loved it so much because it was nice to feel a connection without the like the typical necessities of like connection in the world of punk.
I bring all this up because most of the people that are going to watch this are fans of you. They're going to know what you've done. But there's also a portion of the Q101 audience that only knows big rock shows, that, goes to the United Center here in Chicago. They go to their shows a few times a year. They go to something like Riot Fest. That's what they know. Can you explain the importance of making sure that we continue to have venues that don't have barricades and that we have people that can get on stage, just somebody that maybe isn't hip to the world that you and I largely exist in?
Yeah, I think I'll go big on it.
Please. That's why you're here.
I think I like democracy. I like the concept of a republic. I like this idea that we're all equal under the law, and I think it's a revolutionary concept for our species to kind of strive for, and it can't just be simply represented in like a yearly, every 2 years, every 4 year like ballot box. I think a lot of people think that the spirit of democracy and republicanism is like just voting, and it matters and it's really important, but it also has to kind of exude itself in like the day-to-day experiences and the tiny ways in which we interact with each other, hold doors for each other, like little tiny things like signs we put up for bathrooms and just those types of things. They matter. They go a long way. They effectively are the background of the subject in the painting. That if you were to remove it, suddenly the subject feels off. It doesn't feel like it's an actual full image. And so I do think that, especially for young people, if you want to promote this idea of, you belong to the project of the world, and music is an incredibly powerful thing. And when you walk, I'll never forget going to Warped Tour, and there was just like, I was expecting this like kind of punk world, and it's this massive barrier, and I get it for security and safety purposes on certain sizes, but I didn't get this like I'm a part of the world feeling until 2 weeks later in the summer of '99. I went to like a small show in an AA hall that was rented out to kids at like on the weekends at nights. And it was just on the floor, and there was simply no line of like demarcation or delineation between the music, the people playing the music, and the people. And it really just, this isn't just like rose shaded glasses I'm putting on. I felt like I belonged. I was a part of something, and it was a small piece. And I think that I've been able to kind of hold that core to my life, and then walk into the world and just sort of feel like I belong to the project of human society. And and especially with music, it's so powerful, especially for young people. And there is an implicit message when you only understand art, especially, and large gatherings as this, like, there's the band and then there's the people. And I worry when young people only see that, like, a baseball game, and, like, it's just like this, like, can afford these seats and that seats and blah blah blah. Like, it can be a very powerful and sacred experience to get on the stage of the artist and realize that in this moment there is their art being played, but there's also like an artistic moment being created, and you're a part of it. You're creating the painting, and you're making it what it is. And so when bands always say, or people say like, oh, that X band killed it, and I'm like, actually I disagree. I think that the band and the people killed it. That's what made it happen. And it's weird when you hear people talk about bands. They show up to a show and like, oh, they couldn't draw X amount of people. When I used to go out like on the road more often, if we rolled up to a scene and it was kind of shot, the thinking was, yo, you got to get your scene together. You guys got to get your shit together. Your scene sucks. Like, get more people out here, because like. And I felt kind of fair in saying it, because anywhere we would play, sometimes it would just be fucking awesome. And, you could tell there was a little bit of like disunity, collective working together. And so it'd have like kind of like poor turnout. But now it's like, it's all on the band. It's like, no, it's not all on the band. It's on the people. You make this what it is. And so I do think that like the barrier is like a very strong symbol. And I get it. It has its place sometimes here and there, but it's nice to kind of have an energy that says, if we don't need it, then let's not have it. And the other thing is that it creates an opportunity to be responsible about how you interact in the world. can you stage dive in a way that is not going to hurt somebody? And when you kind of remove that opportunity, you're kind of I don't know, like you're setting people up. It's not always on stage time and stuff like that, but like, you know, it's an opportunity to say like, hey, you can do something actually fucking like that seems wild and crazy and nuts, and no one's gonna get hurt. And I think that too can create a symbolic feeling for people in the world to go in and take risks, but to do it carefully in a way that doesn't harm anyone else. That's my pitch.
I love it. I love it. You mentioned carrying the hardcore ethos with you throughout your entire life. I'm curious. Since you've gotten into the scene, I think you've been a great spearhead for movements in hardcore. I think you've been a trendsetter in a lot of ways. Has there ever been a time in your life, whether as a consumer or as a performer, that you no longer feel connected to hardcore and you felt like maybe I've done my time, maybe I've cashed in my chips, maybe I'm ready to leave, and then it's pulled you back in? Or have you just been pretty steady for the last 25 years of this is who I am?
Well, any of my involvement is not intentional. Like it's nice to hear that I might have some like influence or whatever. I would rather die than consider myself to be like an influencer or even like you know, like I don't want to set trends. I just want to be myself and stuff like that. I hope that comes off as authentic. Like I really do. Because like I kind of barf at the idea of like influencers. And like, cause like it's like this intention to like to shape things, and there's something I can't get my words on it. But and I wasn't saying that you're calling me like a trendsetter, like a trend maker.
Well, you're big on TikTok.
Like,
you're a big TikTok guy.
I actually don't. I'm not.
No,
I'm not. I know. But in terms of leaving the music world, there's been a few times in my life where I have felt like I don't want to take up too much space, and you know, getting older and you know, creating, like, making sure that there's like safe for like, you know, like space for like newer generations, because you don't want to like choke that out, and you know, and also just like I have other ambitions in my life beyond hardcore, and I have at this point, I guess I've been going to shows for like 25 years now, and I just sort of keep coming back to it. I at this point, the singer of Swizz, Sean Brown, he's the original singer of Dag Nasty. My old band Sweet Jesus was like basically a science project to like capture Swizz in modern form, and he came to one of our shows. It was our last show, and he was like, "You're a lifer, man. You're not leaving. You're not going anywhere." And I was like, you know, I just started this teaching career of mine and kind of focused on. He's like, you'll be back, and that made an impression on me. And I've tried to go. I've tried to just sort of like, all right, I'm going to do this, but I just love the creative process, and I like the sense of freedom that is in hardcore. You know, like that. I struggle to find anywhere else. It's. So like I've tried to leave, but I don't think I can. And I'm open about saying like I've tried to leave because like hopefully that highlights the fact that like I don't know, I'm still here. So
yeah, well, absolutely.
And it's so good for young people. It truly is an amazing service to young people. And I worry about like a Pat Flynn life experience where there wasn't this thing. And I every day, and I think about the things I'm grateful for and privileged to have in my life. I can always very clearly draw a direct line to hardcore and punk, and so I just sort of feel like I'm always kind of mindful of the things that I can do that might kind of pay it forward for the things I'm grateful for.
Very much so. Can I ask you about Have Heart before you go? I know you got to play a set here in just a second.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, totally.
Real quick, how did the inspiration come about to play the Sinead O'Connor song before you guys walked on stage? I know you guys did that in 2019 and then again this past year, but her performance on SNL before she rips up the picture of the Pope, that's what you guys came out on stage on, and it's one of the more powerful things that I've ever seen.
Oh, thanks. There was a band called Soulside from DC who covered War. It's a Bob Marley song, and they do their own rendition of it. And I was extremely moved by it. And then I discovered, like, oh, this is this is a Bob Marley song. Cool. And then I remember, I think I was too young when she did that to actually see it on SNL. But I think I watched like a VH1 Behind the Music when I was in high school. And so when I heard the Soulside song and rediscovered the Bob Marley song, I was like, where have I seen this before? And I grew up Catholic in Boston, and in the late 80s or early 90s, there was just like an unbelievable cataclysmic highlight on the abuses of the Catholic Church in terms of its predatory relationship with children. And it was kind of hard to escape in the 90s in Massachusetts. And it was just, I was 7 or 8 or 9, and like, it was just like in the ether, whether it be like, you know, newspaper or just like, you know, like lowbrow jokes about the church and whatnot. And I grew up Catholic. So it was just sort of in my world. And then I think I was, I think it was St. Patrick's Day. And I have a complicated relationship, obviously, with like the Catholic Church for historical reasons, modern reasons, and like personal reasons. And I think it was St. Patrick's Day, and I was like, and I remember I'd seen that. I remember that Sinead O'Connor did that, and I heard that she was like kind of struggling in the later stages of her life. I think she made this very desperate like video from a hotel in like an Econo Lodge in New Jersey, and it was like really impactful on me just to see someone like that. And I remember just thinking like, this person really, if you look at the timeline, she was really kind of speaking out on like one of like world history's like most powerful institutions through the platform of like, at the moment, like one of culture's largest platforms through Saturday Night Live. And like, you know, and her career kind of like just did a downward dive after that at the height of her career. And it was St. Patrick's Day, and I think I just wanted to like make a little post, and that would just, because everyone's like, oh, everyone go brah, and doing these stupid like pseudo Irish American posts, and I just wrote like Happy St. Patrick's Day, and I like took a screenshot of the moment she like rips up the picture of the Pope, and I remember seeing it and being like, well, that's impactful. It was like a very important moment. And if you actually just watch it, she's doing it completely, you know, like a cappella, and it's just so incredibly powerful. And it's not just like, it becomes more than just calling out the problems of like of an institution like the Catholic Church, and it felt very empowering. And so the first Have Art reunion back, there was the Trump administration was practicing a policy of family separation for migrants, and I had just had a child, and I was just rocked by knowing that my government was doing that. The idea of separating a child from the parents as a form of deterrence to like, you know, like migration here. And the morning of the first show, so we hadn't played a show in 10 years, I was just like totally put off by it, and I grew up loving Crass, and I liked the imagery of it, so I just made this little sign saying, hey, this is a human rights violation, and I'd like that to be known. But I also thought, like, you know, what would be extremely powerful is just kind of set the tone. Have Art wasn't always this like outwardly, very specifically addressing political issues, and the song and the performance of Sinead O'Connor offering that isn't like super specific. It's just it's a human rights song, and an anti-war song lyrically. And I just recorded the audio for it, and I said, just play this before we play. Let's have it all black, and that'll be how we come back to hardcore after 10 years. And we went right into Machinist, which is another song about human rights and like universality of our experience, and kind of pushing back on like someone denying the humanity of an individual. And so it was an extremely powerful way to come back, and it stayed with me. And so then, 5 years had passed, and I really appreciated the imagery in that moment. And I said, we didn't play that when we were in the UK, and we didn't open with the intro in LA, and so I was like, it's a powerful experience for everybody, and so and then I was like, let's just take this image of her, and people can rock it around, and I like that it says "Have Heart" on top of it, because it people can kind of like, it's a message of, it really, for me, felt like a representation of like what the band really stood for, which was also really just like human dignity. It's a very long-winded answer of telling you the story, but the shirt didn't sell.
Really?
We had it in Detroit, and people were like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, now that I think about it, I did buy the blue long sleeve and not the Sinead O'Connor shirt. Yeah.
But then we noticed there was like some thread on some internet message board, and like, I think when people realized like what it was, they're like, oh, that's cool. And then, so luckily we sold out all the leftovers online and stuff like that. But, and she's an important historical figure, all things aside. And, there's some like post-mortem dignity that can be said to her, offered to her. And that's important for me as well.
For sure. Real quick before you go, just because hardcore has changed so much in the 5 years between the original Have Heart reunion and what you guys did this year, did you guys feel any different? Did you feel like you were playing to different people? Did the importance of this reunion mean anything different than what it did 5 years ago? What's it like reuniting Have Heart again?
Well, a lot changed from 2019 to 2024. There's been a weird boom in it, and and in there was already a boom starting to boom.
It was happening, yeah.
It was like 10,000 people at that reunion show that we did. We were like, whoa, what the fuck? I guess it's just grown. So we didn't expect many young people in 2019, and we were extremely apprehensive to do it again in terms of like who would show up, and it was just as many, if not more, young kids than before, and that's always very gratifying. But I just, it's a real, like, hello, goodbye, and with no promise of playing again. And that's authentic, and that's important. People were like, oh, you guys said you weren't playing again, and life changed, and some things in our personal lives happened that made us go, we'd like to do this. And but in 2019 we're like, as of now, no, there's no plans, and there's no plans right now. But I'm just super glad that we got to kind of offer and experience the music with the people, to kind of have that like live, artful moment with a generation that seems, I think it seems like a far more accepting era. It's not perfect, it never is, and there's always room for improvement. But it seems like a really nice time in hardcore, where there's a lot more people. There's a lot more like people coming from different backgrounds than I ever remember, and I'm really grateful that we got to, do some art with people in that moment, and that's we'll be eternally grateful for it.
Good. Well, very rarely in life do you have a chance to sit with somebody that's impacted your life in such a great way like I am right now. So, Pat, I want to thank you for everything you've done. Have Heart, Clear, Wolf Whistle, Free, Sweet Jesus, Fiddlehead, everything else. You mean the world to me. I think you've made my life better. I think you've made a lot of people's lives better.
Yeah, you made your own life better.
What can I say?
How it works.
Thank you to Spiritual Cramp for making this happen. Thank you, Michael from Spiritual Cramp. And Pat, thank you so much for your time, man.
Thank you for having me.